Um, will NVIDIA reach $344 next year?
Has a great probability too. I know some analysts are expecting 75% to 80% return. A couple things, performance of partnerships, Blackwell Ultra. There's a couple things that play it. That will be an exhaustive push. Is it unreasonable to get there? No, because if you look at this year, it went from the low of 86 to 212. And a year before that, adjusted for split, it went from 47 to 151. So it's inside the range of possibility. It is going to be an exhaustive performance to get there. Do I think it could get there next year? Probably, but if not, the following year, it'll definitely hover around there. I don't think NVIDIA is going to slow down anytime soon, and I don't think they've hit their peak just because of how the company's performed, how well Jensen is performing at this time as a CEO. He's getting into like Steve Jobs-esque territory. I think so. I don't know for sure if in 1 year, but in 2 years for sure, it would definitely be at that price.
Yeah, I think Loop initiated that. Yeah, Loop Capital, they initiated the raise of the price target to 350, which is, I mean, it's based on a couple of things. The number one thing they said is that they're anticipating them to double the shipments of their GPUs next year, and pretty much throughout the next 15 months to 2.1 million. Which is a lot of GPUs when you think about the price target for how much these GPUs are. They also anticipate that the average price per sale is going to go up, right? Because they do obviously offer Blackwell and Blackwell Ultra, but they still have other GPUs that still sell. In fact, they announced today that they made a deal with the UAE to sell over 62,000 more GPUs. This is
how many are going to sell to OpenAI before they go public? Circular economy.
It's there. We talked about it with TSM coming on board, OpenAI and Oracle, what they're doing with Stargate, Amazon, their data center. What should we call them? Should we call them factories? They're almost like cities at this point.
Yeah. Smart city.
Yeah, in Indiana, that one's online. The power that's going to be needed, the compute that's going to be needed. This is going to be in demand, and demand doesn't look like it's slowing. Like I said, Meta got knocked because Mark Zuckerberg is saying we're going to win at all costs. And I don't care what happens, right? Amazon literally did the same thing the next day and said, look, I know we spent $100 billion. Next year, we're probably going to spend about 135.
And I think it was over-exacerbated, that drop in Meta. If you're in Stock Club, I had that price set to go there 4 weeks before this news came out. But in terms of the way they're investing, I don't think people are looking at not only inflation, but the inflation on, like, he's locking in the price for better performance for 2 years from now. They actually had great revenue, and you punish them in the price of the stock. Like, what the hell are you doing?
This is that when we talk about sentiment, it was the investors that listened to the earnings call kind of felt like he was being overly aggressive because his statement, and to me, I was like, that's the kind of CEO that I would like want. He was like, look,
he's reinvesting into the business.
We said we were going to spend $65 billion. We're actually going to up it to $75 billion. In fact, we can't buy enough. And if we do next year, we'll put it and add it to other aspects of the business. And to some investors, it almost came off like, well, he's spending frivolously, right? They're going to overspend, which could be a way to look at it. But
y'all
for me,
it's like that shit doing the metaverse. Y'all let him blow it back. And this is my point. Like, I was hypercritical during that metaverse investment era. He's actually investing into something where you know what the return on invested capital is going to be, and you punish him. And then it was 10 billion more. It wasn't like it was 55 billion more. It's a good spend, which that return on capital should be 2x in 3 years.
Well, we've seen this movie before with Meta.
For sure.
A few times, not just a few years ago, but it's happened like 3 times over the last 4 years with Meta, where their stock has dropped and it's always rebounded. So if history is any indicator of the future, nothing to panic about yet. But with that being said, let's talk about, Shans had mentioned Netflix. So Netflix announced a 10-to-1 stock split. So let's talk about Netflix. But yeah, Netflix is also an example of the companies that usually, when something goes up, it's gonna come back down eventually.
Yeah.
And Netflix had a crazy run up, got to 1341,
Yeah, 1341.
but
Yeah.
come back down to like 1,000.
Yeah, right above that
So
200 there.
okay, 10-1 stock split. And what does this speak about? Knowing when a company has actually reached its peak and now it's time to cool
No,
off a little bit.
Rashad, you're not saying that they hit their peak, did you?
No,
No, I'm
yeah, I
not
was
saying.
about to. I'm
I'm
glad
not
you
saying
said
that
that.
their peak of all time. I'm saying their
Okay.
peak of. So it might be their peak of the year, probably, right? They probably not
Oh,
get
for
back
sure.
to
Yeah.
1,300
Yeah.
in the next 6 weeks. So I'm just saying, for a trader, it's like, all right, know when to get out, right?
I would continue to hold for long term. The thing that does concern me, though, as an investor, I don't like 10-1 splits normally, because normally if you take Berkshire, they hadn't split, right? I know NVIDIA did a split. Put in chat, what was that? Usually when you have a 10-1 split, the price correction usually is deeper. I get the affordability argument that people have, because now you'll be able to get shares for $109. But as an investor, for the most part, you want exclusivity in who is investing in it. And when you start to see these 10-for-1s, 20-to-1s, the stock usually does not perform the same. I'm not saying that Netflix is going to fall apart, that it's going to erode, but they will hit a rougher patch for a little bit of time. I actually like the price where they're at now. Stock Club, I won't give away our price, but if we get in, if it falls to like 10.52.45, I like that as a position to be able to get in. But I do think, given how fast the stock has risen over the last few years, there may be a pullback into the high 900s at some point, which I would love to get in. But 10-to-1 splits usually are not an amazing sign for me.
You specifically don't like 10-to-1 or just splits in general?
I just don't like 10-to-1s.
So just
I'm not the biggest fan of 5-to-1, but 10-to-1s are not usually a good sign of private confidence in a public equity.
Yeah, because NVIDIA feels like if that's the case, then that's an outlier, right? Because they did the 10-to-1, and
NVIDIA is an exception to most mathematical rules and performance rules.
Yeah, I'm still long term on Netflix.
For sure, and I want to be very clear. Me too.
Yeah, so definitely still long term on Netflix. I think it's important for all the technical traders that have watched it. It's that 200-day. It's like sitting there, right? Like it touched a 200-day, it bounced off of it. Historically, over the past 3 years, once it hits its 200-day, it's bounced and it's been a positive return on that. So it's kind of floating around it. Will it get back up to its high? I don't know if it gets back up to its high. I think it ends out the year on a positive note, knowing that the first and fourth quarters are its strongest quarters. When you talk about the amount of watch time and you talk about the programming that happens in those, you're talking about a few fights that they've already announced. We already know what the NFL is going to be. They announced, probably their most watched show, Stranger Things, will be back. Now they had the ad platform to add inside of there. And they're in talks to potentially get Discovery Warner Brothers. So they put themselves inside of that bid. I'll be interested to see how the rest of this quarter plays out. But I'm definitely long term on Netflix.
Well, when you say in positive, you mean for the quarter or like which time?
For the quarter.
Okay.
For the quarter. Yeah. It's for this quarter for sure. Yeah.
Two things for me. I agree. I don't think they're going back to their high, but I do think that they do end up above 11.2675.
Yeah, we executed on a few of those calls into September, and this is again for those of people who are in those options. We made ourselves available to invest in it, but we also said, hey, is there an ETF that has exposure to it first? Before we had the Netflix call, we said, let's find an ETF that has exposure to it at the highest allocation. That ETF was FDN. Shout out to everybody that actually invested in that, because that has been an amazing call. So much so that, I think it went up 500%. Now we're looking at how we can now invest in it again. So that's like a I think it's it's a communications, like the communications of the internet. So Meta's inside that ETF. They actually passed Netflix inside of it. So another one of those, if you don't have it on your watch list, watch and add to the ETF portfolio that you have when you're trying to find that leg. This would be a good one just to have in the portfolio. But yeah, still long on Netflix. We actually got calls out until next September. So we took profit from the one that we sold this year, went into next year, just because we believe in the story.
Hold for the long term in 2022. It was at $162.71 at a low. Got to a high of $1,341.15. All your problems go away if you hold for the long term.
Yeah.
The more time you can have in the market, and I know y'all keep saying it's time in, not timing. It's both. It's time in the market plus timing is going to give you the highest gains. But the longer you hold, the more these problems go away.
Yeah, this was one of those companies that when we asked the question last year, what's the company that you didn't get into that's kind of run away? And it was Netflix, and we got into it around like 700. Obviously, it went up to 1,300, so it was a great gain. But I understand the trepidation around not liking splits, right? So if you watch how Chipotle reported last week,
different sector though.
Yeah,
Chipotle has the biggest competitor is the company that used to be invested into them, McDonald's. Netflix almost has no competition
from a profitability standpoint inside of streaming.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I don't care how many Landman remakes y'all make. Stranger Things.
It's a tough business.
And I love 1883 and all the little slave period shows that Taylor doing, but boy, them fights and that Super Bowl,
they figured it out.
Christmas game. Netflix finds a way to keep getting better and having a great profit margin for their business on average.
Yeah, and then the cancellation of everybody can use your passcode.
Brilliant.
That changed the game. They changed the game so much that Disney said we got to do the same.
For sure. I have to relog in after that. It's Disney, Hulu, and
the ESPN did right. They did the same thing with ESPN and Hulu. Everybody's figuring out. Oh wait, hold on. There's more profit if we cut this password sharing.
For sure.
Thanks to Netflix.
Back to NVIDIA. So, what do you say to people that have concerns that the market cap is too large? $5 trillion. Only 2 countries, I believe, have GDPs higher. They're more valuable than anything in the world, almost, for the most part. And a lot of people are saying that it's reached a point where it's so massive that the upside potential is on par with slower growth rate potentially.
If you're comparing it from 24's growth rate, and it's going to slow out because it's hard to get those exponential returns year over. Like, I don't want anyone to think you can be able to get 100 to 300% long term in a stock consistently. I could argue for the value that is created in the entire ecosystem, they're undervalued because they brought up the valuation of AMD. The entire, like, once we talk about the entire ecosystem, it starts with them. So is the outsized gain over with of getting an easy 90 to the 150%? Probably. It doesn't mean that it's overvalued though. And once again, NVIDIA is the cornerstone of the new companies that have to save the GDP of America. And even when DeepSeek and China made the decision to make their own chips, that was because they didn't want to be dependent upon NVIDIA. So they're the once-in-a-lifetime company that made other companies reimagine how they do things.